Hi, everybody. Last session for PIVC 2020, and to send it off into its oblivion, I have this fabulous gentleman here called Kenny Biddle. I want one. How cool is that? Kenny is an amazing character and a very passionate individual. Now, although he's a skeptical investigator of paranormal claims and a science enthusiast who takes a closer look at claims involving paranormal experiences, the equipment that people use to search for strange things, and the evidence presented for ghosts, UFOs, and cryptids. He promotes critical thinking and science on his Facebook blog, I Am Kenny Biddle, his YouTube channel, and his Skeptical Inquirer column, A Closer Look. In addition, he speaks at various events on topics such as deconstructing paranormal photography, which I love, and strategies for solving mysteries. He hosts a live streaming Q&A where mixed drinks and paranormal topics cross paths for entertaining discussions. And don't worry, he doesn't bite. This is Kenny Biddle. Welcome.
I don't bite. That's good. Well, I mean, it depends on the situation and how drunk I am.
If you turn yourself into a burger. Yeah.
So,
fantastic.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, no, by all means.
We already have a question. What?
We do.
I'm seeing Karen. Karen, I love Karen. Karen is over there with you on your side of the pond. And yes, we've been talking for years. We've been talking, and she's adorable. I love her so much. But yeah, so should we just jump right in?
Yeah, sure, mate. Do you want me to do questions first, or do you want to kind of get into your thoughts about skeptical claims, paranormal claims within skepticism? And
yeah, let's just jump. Let's give it like a little, like you give a great biography. That was great. That was a bio. I love that. Thank you. I can cross that off my notes. But I'm here basically, and we talked, weeks ago about coming on and what I would talk about, and basically, I mean, most of it's going to be Q&A. From like a skeptical point of view, my point of view. But I wanted to stress the ideas about skepticism and paranormal claims, and why skeptics, people like me, are not assholes, to put it bluntly. Some of them are. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it seem like, everyone that claims to be a skeptic is just a friendly guy like me, because I'm just a big teddy bear. Basically, you have cynics and skeptics. And cynics, I have definitions written down, so I'm going to totally cheat. But a cynic is defined as a person who believes that people are motivated purely by self-interest rather than acting honorably or unselfishly. So basically, like, cynic is the kind, like, it's a couch potato kind of thing where you can sit, watch a TV show or listen to a podcast and just go, no, that's just bullshit. No, that doesn't exist. And everything is just no. They toss it out without any consideration about any investigation, without any research into a topic. For me, a skeptic, and I have a couple definitions here. One of my favorite is actually from Sharon Hill, who did. She wrote she was the main person on a collaboration project called "The Media Guide to Skepticism," and how she defines skepticism is an approach to evaluating claims that emphasizes evidence and applies tools of science. Skepticism considers evidence obtained by systematic observation and reason. The conclusion that is reached at the end of this skeptical process is provisional, because additional or better evidence may come along that points towards a more suitable explanation, which I love that explanation. It's a lot to unpack there, but it's a real good explanation of it. And I like to add on that, from my point of view, skepticism is about having doubt. It's not, it doesn't mean that I don't believe something right off the bat. It doesn't mean that, whatever you say, I'm just not going to believe you. It basically is, I have doubt. And because I have doubts, I have questions that I'm going to ask you. And these questions are meant to get at the core truth, to weed out all the falseness of the claims. If there's assumptions, if there's people that speculate or they bring in their own beliefs or biases. And my skepticism, my questioning comes into play because I want to get that out of there. I want to filter out that stuff because it doesn't belong. I want to get to the core facts and figure out exactly what's going on. So that's basically what skepticism is to me versus cynicism. And the way we approach it, the way we approach skepticism and paranormal claims is basically to be nice. And it always takes me back to that movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. I mean, that's the awesome advice. No matter what, be nice. Because if you are confrontational, if you're aggressive, you're gonna get pushback from the people that you're questioning. They're not going to want to interact with you. They're not going to want to answer your questions. You're not going to get the information you want. And you're going to get a bunch of people that, rightfully so, get pissed off and start arguing with you. So it's not good to be aggressive like that. It's good to be polite and be respectful and be just nice. Be nice. So when I ask questions, and we chatted about this a little bit before we went live, that sometimes I do, you can see comments that I put up, questions, and the people that know me know pretty much where I'm getting at. Well, the line of questioning that I'm taking, but I'm trying to phrase the questions in a way that doesn't cause people to get defensive, that they don't get angry at someone like me asking a question. It's like, oh, okay, you asked a question, fair question. Let's answer it. Let's address it. So basically, that's me in a nutshell. taking the skepticism to paranormal claims. I like to go out to events. I like to attend. I love to attend science conventions. I've had the opportunity to lecture at a few of them, but I also like to attend paranormal conferences and talk to all the groups, the vendors, and the speakers that talk at these events and engage with them. But of course, sometimes that doesn't always work out because sometimes you do get people that are they're very passionate, as I am. I'm very passionate about my work. And you get others that are passionate on the other side of the spectrum, on the other side of the fence. And if you start asking questions, even if you're polite, you're going to get pushback, and again, it comes back to the rule, be nice. If they yell and scream in your face because they're pissed off, damn, the best thing you can do is be nice because it shows the audience that not only are you, taking a professional approach to this, but it also pisses off the other guy so much because if you don't let them get to you, like who's the one that has the problem? It's the person screaming, not the other person that's sitting there and just quietly going, okay, I'll wait till you're done talking and then I'll take my turn. So,
have you had a lot of an animosity by going to paranormal events with people that are very strong in their paranormal beliefs?
I get a mixture. There definitely is a mixture of reactions from people, because not everyone, like it's nice because I walk into a conference and I do know a lot of people because most of the conferences I go to, I do know people from years back and stuff. So I do say hi to a lot of them. And for those that don't know me or those that I do interact with, it's a mixture. When you say you're skeptical, you're a skeptic, which is weird. I don't like saying that. I don't know why. I'm skeptical, yes, but I can't skeptic things. you know what I mean? So I guess when I do approach people and I started asking questions, there's usually it's like half and half. Some get very interested in the questions that I'm asking, and they're like, "Wow, like I never thought about that. I never thought of it in this way before." Especially when you bring up like controls for experiments, or long-term data logging for base readings and stuff. It's you see the light bulb go on, and they're like, "Oh my god, yeah, I never thought of that. I'm gonna have to try that." And there's appreciation there. And then afterwards, they contact you again and run things by you. And that's what I love to do. I love that connection that we make, because then I can offer my opinion and my knowledge to improve the work of others, which is great. I love doing that. On the flip side of that coin, though, there are some people that will like straight up not talk to me. They see me coming, they will either turn around and walk the other way, or tell me outright, I don't want to talk to you. Move on. There is sometimes hostility when you start asking questions and they don't have the answer. And that can be hard. That's a very awkward situation. And I understand it. I do a live Q&A show every week. And I purposely put myself on the spot because I know I don't know everything. But if I can help, I can help. But if I can't, it gives me a chance to learn and look in new directions, which I love. So based on that philosophy, my personal philosophy, if you're going to present your stuff, your evidence, your equipment, all your know-how and stuff at a conference, at a booth, then you should be prepared for Q&A. You should be prepared for questions that you might not be able to answer. And, the biggest problem I find is that when I ask a question and the person doesn't know, they don't have an answer, which is fine. That's perfectly okay. And I don't think many people realize that. It's okay not to know and have an answer. Instead of saying, I don't know, maybe let me look it up later, or I can find out, let me take your information and we can hook up later. The person will oftentimes try to make up an explanation. They try to create it out of whole cloth, and it's like you see them struggling, and they're stringing words together that to the layperson might seem intelligent, but if you have knowledge in the subject, the string of words are completely nonsensical. And it gets even worse when you point that out, because you're like, no, those words don't go together. They don't, or they mean the same thing. So you're just double downing on the same terminology. And usually that results in like a confrontation. But if it gets heated, I usually bow out. There's no reason to get like that. So I'll walk away. I'll say, I'm sorry. I apologize for getting you upset. I'm going to take my leave and leave you alone. And then I'll move on. Unless of course they're promoting something that can potentially hurt somebody. And then, the gloves are off. I definitely have a problem with people that, if they claim that they can cure something, cure a disease or something, then is this R-rated? Can I curse?
You can curse. We're at that part of the show.
So, if you're claiming to cure a disease or something like that, and I've come across several people that have claimed that, if you claim that and I meet you, it's on, fucker. That's it. Like, I am going to call your shit out, like, publicly, and we're going to go toe to toe, because you can potentially hurt and or kill people with what they're promoting. So that I definitely don't like. And I will aggressively attack that. Otherwise, though, I try to be as polite as possible. So
absolutely, I find it with other parts of science, or lack of, I should say. I find a lot of people that are consider themselves to be skeptics. That's probably the part that they're obviously and quite rightly the most passionate about. I know that generally skeptics, they'll look at the paranormal as like not even icing on the cake. It doesn't even get a look in. It's very much a topic that's almost a joke.
Yeah.
So you very rarely find knowledgeable and level-headed skeptics that are willing to continue to want to learn and help and be a part of the paranormal community as much as you do, to be honest. It's very rare.
Yeah, there's a few out there. Like I started out as a ghost hunter. So, I mean, that was my beginning. I grew up loving everything paranormal, everything. Like, I was into all of it. And gradually, as I grew up and I went through the experiences of being a ghost hunter and joining a team and running my own group of ghost hunters and realizing more about, especially photography. I really got into photography and realized, like, a lot of this shit that I'm getting are not ghosts. They are not. They are anomalies that I can not only replicate, at a snap of a finger, but have a good logical explanation that I want to pass on. But I didn't start this. I learned from other people. I learned from people like Benjamin Rafford, Joe Nickel, Sharon Hill, These are people that I've looked up to because they really did good investigations. They took the time to look into it, look into the details, and really do the research. And I think you touched on that when you were talking to Shannon earlier. She took the time for historical mysteries, to really look into all of the details that were being presented. And that takes months and years sometimes to look into all that and verify it. And I guess you could say I was astonished. I was shocked at how long a good investigation really took, and what was involved. So this progressed over time, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of skeptical people out there that look at paranormal claims and they laugh, or they shrug their shoulders and move on to something else. And I get it. I get it, because unfortunately, I think and I really don't like calling it a field, but I think the hobby of ghost hunting does it to itself. I really do, because I think the majority of groups out there and individuals, even though they are sincere and really want to do something good, I think they get a lot of their information and methodology from TV shows, which suck donkey balls, to be honest. I mean, they really are awful with the techniques and the misinformation that they promote. That should be good. I'm going to clip that out later and just play that video clip.
Good. As I said, I can send you the recording of this later anyway, so that should be fun.
Oh, I lost my train of thought. I was on that like donkey ball. Really threw me off there.
Well, that's it. We've got some great questions coming.
Oh yeah, let's get some questions. I don't want to get far behind.
Awesome. So this lovely lady, has Kenny ever had an experience that he found hard to debunk that could be paranormal related?
Well, the thing with that question, it's a good question, but I'm going to approach it in a different way here. There's been experiences that I could not explain, and I'm not perfect. I'm not an expert on any subject. I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but not a lot about one thing, except photography. But basically, there's experiences out there that you can be told about, but there's not enough information. Whether you can't go to the location, you can't inspect the gadgets that were used to collect information, you can't see the photograph that was taken that no one has ever seen, because that comes up sometimes. So there's the reason it can't be explained is because there's not enough information. So there's been plenty of cases like that where I've been involved in, where I just can't give an explanation because I don't have the information. But I cannot say at the end of the day that it could be paranormal related, because a few reasons. One, the paranormal is a very general, broad term. It encompasses like anything that's abnormal, that's considered abnormal. So that's a broad definition there. And then let's see, hard to debunk that could be paranormal. I can't conclude that it might be paranormal related because I don't know what the source is. And that's big for me. That's actually one of my notes that I was writing down. I was watching the other shows that you were doing. If you can't find a source, then you don't know what caused whatever experience you experienced. So therefore, I'm left with, I don't know. I can speculate, but I think paranormal would be like way, way down on the list of possible explanations below the quote, I don't know. Because that when you say paranormal, you're invoking things that are outside what science knows today. And you're invoking a metaphysical extraordinary claim in order to try to conclude something, and you can't do that if you don't have evidence to back it up or data to back it up. Then that's showing a bias. It's showing your bias coming through. If I don't know what caused something, then I will conclude that right now this is what I do know. I can speculate, but otherwise I don't know what caused this, and I'll leave it at that. Good question, Karen. Thank you.
Yeah. And we have a lovely comment from Spooky Isles. Very interesting discussion. Well done, Beth and Kenny. Yay! Awesome.
I love it.
I have another great question here is, hi Kenny, do you think that the paranormal field is irreversibly overcrowded now? And if it's possible, how can this be remedied?
Irreversibly overcrowded. That is great. I love that term. That's wonderful. Let's see. I think the whole and everything encompassing the paranormal, and I'm just going to relinquish. I'm going to call it a field. The field it's overcrowded because it's easy to get into. You don't need any qualifications. You don't need any training. You don't need any certifications. You don't need any equipment even to do it. You can just all of a sudden say, you know what? I'm a ghost hunter. I'm a paranormal investigator. There's no test you have to take to do it. So I think the popularity came from mostly the TV shows. Like I grew up with like Unsolved Mysteries and In Search Of, and they were decent shows. They were really decent shows. I think they were a little biased on some of the stories, but I think they were decent shows, and they presented a story and a location. And then we had a lull in entertainment industry with that kind of stuff, and then Ghost Hunters pretty much came on board and was the first reality, and I put that in very deep, dark, bold quotes, reality show that showcased a group of people going out and investigating ghosts or hunting for ghosts. So I think the popularity just exploded. Like all of a sudden, these people were sitting at home watching, going, shit, I can do this. I can go to historical locations and I can look around with a camera, and I have a recorder. Like, I mean, back in the days when I did it, we had tape recorders. Kids, you can look that up on Google to explain what a tape recorder is. But I actually have one. I think I have a micro cassette recorder. Yes, I do. Micro cassette recorder that uses tiny little cassettes. But anyone could do it, and it was easy, and most times it was free. So this was something you could do on the hobby, which is why I sometimes call ghost hunters weekend warriors, because they go out on the weekend and you can do it. So I think, yeah, it's definitely overcrowded. And then it evolved. So not only could anyone do it and do it for free, or you didn't need any certifications, you could go to this place and this place, and then people wanted to be on TV because they saw ghost hunters and how it spiked in popularity. So everyone, there was a period of like 2 or 3 years, maybe more, where I went to paranormal conferences, and it was like everyone had a pilot being filmed, and it was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're all doing the same cookie cutter freaking shows. Like, no, nothing's different. It's all the same. But that was the interest. Everybody wanted to be on TV because that was like their chance to be, I guess, significant. I don't know. I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way. It probably sounded that way, but it was a chance for someone to, get well known, to become popular, to be on TV, and some people really like that stuff. So I think that's that first part of the question. I think that answered that part of the question. And then the second part, if it's possible, how can this be remedied? It can't. It really can't. I mean, there's nothing to stop people from doing these hobbies. It's like trying to tell people or stopping people from playing football or baseball or fishing, or hiking. You just can't do it. It's not something that's regulated, or it's not like drugs that you can regulate. Everyone's going to do it. The best thing I think you can do is educate yourself, and I don't mean read like books from other ghost hunters. No offense, but most of them suck. They really do. There's even in the ones that say that they're scientific, they're not. They're not. I find very little science in any of them. Go to sources. If you want to learn about science, if you want to learn about photography, buy photography manuals, not a ghost hunter's book about ghost photos. You're not going to learn about photography that way. So like physics, biology, you want to learn about physics. I mean, physics, fuck that. I tried. It's horrible. Anyone that says that they know how physics works obviously is not a physicist. It's just, that's the basic. Even physicists that I do know tell me like, no, we don't even understand everything. So the layperson, no. If someone starts talking to me like at a ghost conference about physics, no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna walk away from you because it's a mute point. So, but I hope that answered your question, anonymous Facebook user. So, because I don't think you can remedy that situation. So there you go. Whew, that's good.
From James as well. James says, "Are you in touch with Jay? I think it's Bachochu, Finding Jay movie about his cryptid investigations? If so, how is his research going? And are you involved with his investigation methodology?"
Jay is a friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in quite some time, since a little bit after his film came out. Because Finding Jay was a documentary that Jay made about it wasn't necessarily about Bigfoot research and investigation. It was more of his personal journey. And it was very personal, and I was part of it. I did some filming for it where I was in a small clip just talking about skepticism and about claims of Bigfoot. So I don't know too much about what he's doing, but we used to have very intense conversations, and I mean serious conversations. Nothing hostile or anything like that. We're real good friends. But he would run things by me, or I would have an idea about something that he posted, and I would send him like video clips. We went through I forget what it's called, not Snapchat. I'm gonna cheat. I'm looking on my phone here to Marco Polo, the Marco Polo app. So we would send videos back and forth, talking about concepts and issues that I might have with it, and how he's doing something. So I don't remember the whole question, but that's oh, there it is. If so, how is his research going, and are you involved? So I'm not personally involved with his investigation methodology, but I have offered advice and ideas when he's asked, or if I see something come up and he posts something like, "Oh, I'm doing this experiment," I'll send him something and say, "Have you tried this? Have you thought about this control?" And then we'll have a conversation. So I'm not actively involved, more passive. It's here and there, but Jay's a good guy. I like him. We don't agree on everything, obviously, but we can have a professional, polite conversation with between two people with different viewpoints, which is
totally doable.
Yes.
Jay says, a question to Kenny: do you think this field needs to be regulated, some form of governance to try and control it somehow?
So first and foremost, I want to say your profile picture, CJ, is awesome. I love that look. So the question, do I think this field needs to be regulated? Some form of governance. I don't know how you would. This question has come up a lot in the past, a lot, and during panel discussions and podcasts and stuff. Do I think it should be regulated? Yeah, absolutely. I think. Especially, and I'm going to get really passionate about this part, especially because some teams go into private residences, and that causes, there's a concern for liability there, because you're going in and actively influencing someone's like everyday lives, because you're going in there and telling them, whether you tell them they have ghosts or demons or whatever, if that's the result of your investigation. And I put that in quotes too sometimes, and we can talk about that. We can come back to that a little bit later. But
I do quotes as well.
I have a lot of quotes. I really need like something that just pops up and goes, quote. If your end result is that you're going back to a homeowner and telling them that they have ghosts or demons in their house after your maybe 4 or 5 hour investigation, and then you leave and don't come back, you just mind fucked that family. You seriously did, because now you're going to cause anxiety, fear, sleepless nights. They're not going to want to stay in the house they're going to have issues that develop because of what the ghost hunting team told them. And I'm really surprised there hasn't been a group that's been sued yet. I really am. So do I think it needs to be regulated? Fuck yes, I do. I really do. How they're going to do it, I don't know. Because as we touched on earlier, most skeptics and scientists probably see this as a joke. It's not worth looking into. And again, it goes back to the methodology of the ghost hunters themselves that spawned that idea. But should some kind of government like regulate it? I don't know how. I really don't know how, and I don't want to start speculating on things because I'm not. This is not my wheelhouse, government issues. So I don't know how they would. I would suggest some kind of training. I mean, at the very least, you'd have to have some kind of therapy training, because again, you're going into somebody's house and influencing their perspective. You're influencing their quality of life. Really, it comes down to. So if you're not licensed, if you're not trained, if you're not certified in doing that kind of work, then you really have no business being in there. Because I think you can do more damage. And I've personal experience. This is an anecdote, so take it with a grain of salt. But I was a guest on a ghost hunt that happened in a private residence, where when I showed up, the homeowner was already he had high anxiety. You can tell like he was having issues, shaking hands, everything. And during the course of the ghost hunt that I was involved with, one of the ghost hunters who, well, to put it bluntly, he was a dick. But he went through the house and they found these red bricks wrapped in aluminum foil. And they were in the bedrooms. And then they found some in the basement. So he took these, he brought them downstairs, and everyone's gathered in the dining room. And the homeowner's there, they're listening to this ghost hunter talk. And the ghost hunter is telling him that these bricks they have spirits, evil spirits trapped inside of them. That's why they're wrapped in aluminum foil and tied with string, because that's a binding spell and it's keeping in here. You need to get these out of the house because this is what's causing your anxiety. This is what's causing your haunting. And if they stay here, it's going to get worse. All this stuff. And I felt so bad because the homeowner, literally, he's smoking and his hands are like this. And I actually spoke up and told the guy, you need to shut up. You need to stop talking. You need to leave this guy alone. These are not what you think they are. And I knew what they were. They were poor. It's a poor man's bed warmer. That's basically what it is. Because you had bed warmers in the Victorian times where they were like pans. You put the coals from the fire in there and it would slide in between the sheets and heat it up. This is the same concept. The bricks in the aluminum foil will put in the basement next to the heater, sometimes in the heater, the furnace, and it would heat them up. The bricks were then taken up, put between the sheets to warm the beds at night. And that's basically what it was. So, unfortunately, the homeowner sold the house a short time later because he couldn't live in there. He could not sleep in there. He was sleeping at his girlfriend's house, and he had just purchased the house. So much that can happen. And so this question is really important. And I think groups need to look at themselves and look in the mirror and say, what am I doing here? Am I being ethical? Am I being professional when I go into private homes and telling these people, my results based on what? Is it real evidence? And then when you say, yeah, question again, really? Is it really evidence? Maybe look again and go consult somebody else. So thank you. That's a good question.
Thank you, PJ. Yeah, it's about intent. It's like what do paranormal groups what's their intent with their for you? I mean, we call it investigating. You're thinking it's not investigating, but the term is very generally used. But it's always about intent. What's your intent to investigate someone's home? Is it is it for yourself? Is it for someone else?
Right.
That's a to always ask yourself.
Because if you have the intention of going in to prove the paranormal, then yeah, that's what you're going to do. and you're not, you're going in with a severe bias. I go into any investigation looking for the cause. I'm looking for the truth. I'm looking for what happened, what's going on to cause these experiences. I'm not looking to prove ghosts. I'm not looking to debunk ghosts. And the same thing goes with UFOs and Bigfoot when I go out there and look for them. I'm looking for an explanation. Whatever that explanation is, based on the evidence that I find, the data that I find, that is my conclusion. So if it comes to pass where I find a freaking ghost, so be it. That's my conclusion. I'm not like that diehard skeptic that just says no. If I find an actual ghost, it'd be really fucking cool.
And that's the interesting thing from a neutral believer perspective, I guess you could call me as such, or at least open-minded to it. One of the big things that we come across is the fact that, you know, if there was a hardcore skeptic of some sort was actually then say moved, or if science for some reason was able to explain that there is a possible afterlife, how would hardcore skeptics feel? It's like, you've had this driven belief for so long and now it's just being changed. You know, it's almost like, how would they cope with that if there was ever proof of afterlife?
And that's the basis of skepticism. And that goes back to the description that I read off from Sharon Hill's media guide to skepticism. I mean, it says in the quote that, let's see, the conclusion that is reached at the end of the skeptical process is provisional because additional or better evidence may come along that points toward a more suitable explanation. That's science. That's basically how science works. We test the shit out of stuff. I say we. I'm not a scientist, but science tests the shit out of things to weed out all the falseness to come to a good, solid conclusion. However, if more evidence, additional evidence comes along later on that proves to be valid and changes our conclusion, then that's it. It shifts the conclusion and the worldview is changed. The scientific consensus will go to that, you know, as long as other independent scientists, you know, verify the results. And there's a whole process. It's much more than what people usually think the scientific method is. There's a ton more than what people think for the scientific method. But science does shift its views. It's not concrete. These are not set in stone, because you can change the ideas that we have right now. The scientific consensus that we have is based on all the data that we've collected thus far. So if more comes along, it might change our viewpoint, and that's how we have to be. That's how I am. I'm open to it. Yes, I am skeptical. Most people consider me a hardcore skeptical or hardcore skeptic person because I ask questions. And that might be some other people's views, but for me, on my side, it's like, if you think I'm a hardcore skeptic because of what I'm questioning, like on your claims, maybe you should look at your claims. Maybe your claims suck. It's possible, you know, and maybe your claims aren't backed by the evidence that you think it is. And I'm asking these questions in order so we can have a discussion about it and maybe work out this issue. So if it works out that I'm wrong, if my questions don't lead to a different opinion, okay, I walk away. I'm good. If it does lead to something else, you know, like a different conclusion, then I'm not going to jump up and down and do a happy dance in front of you like, haha, you know, I proved you wrong. That's not how I'm going to be. Again, with a caveat that if you're a dick, I'm going to do that. But normally I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be happy that we all learned something new, you know, and now going forward, both parties are going to look at things differently and be able to apply this knowledge to our new experiences. Woo! I love this. This is a great show. These are good questions.
Now, this wonderful lady has been able to jump in and what do you think Hans Holzer would think of today's ghost hunters?
Well, I don't know too much about Holzer. I'm not really a fan of his work. Personally, I do have several books from him, and I've paged through them. I've read a little bit about his work, so I don't know too much. I'm not a fan. I know that I'm pretty sure he's the one. I think we talked about this on our live show when you were on my show. I think this came up, but I believe he came up with the first like Ghost Hunters kit. All the equipment that would at the time would go into a kit, for looking at ghosts. So I think I'm not really sure. Again, I don't want to say something because I'm not well versed on Hans Holzer, so I can't really answer that question. I'm sorry, Shannon.
No, well, she's come back with another question. Then, if you want to.
That cat toy experiment. Oh my God, do I have them here? I don't know where they are. So the cat toys. I'll try to keep it short because it's a long process. I investigated these cat toys, and they were promoted as what were they promoted as? Like paranormal light sensitive balls that were designed for paranormal research, and that they were calibrated, or they had special equipment in them that were more sensitive for paranormal research. So I did a deep dive into this investigation. I found the manufacturer of these little balls. They're little plastic balls that light up with LEDs inside. I found the manufacturer. I found exactly where he purchased them, and found out after I took them apart, because I ordered 3 of the guy that was selling them as paranormal toys or paranormal investigation tools, and then I ordered 3 or 4 of the cat toys from the same manufacturer and compared them, and they were exactly the same. They were very cheap cat toys. There was no difference between them at all. Like the same board, same what was it? It wasn't an accelerometer, because I think that was promoted as an accelerometer, but it didn't have an accelerometer. It had just a simple level sensor that if you moved it, it would just say, "Oh yeah, removed," and it would light up the LEDs. So I also found that these were being sold at like 3 or 4 times the actual price of it, but they did the same thing. They did the same exact thing. If you went out to your pet store or a dollar store and bought like a motion sensing ball, it did the same freaking thing. So I guess the point of the investigation was there was claims with this paranormal gadget that were being made that it could detect ghosts, that it was more sensitive, that it was designed specifically for ghost hunters. And when you looked into it, it was not. Like, all the claims were false. It was just a simple toy with a different insert card for the package, and that was it. There was nothing to it. And that's something with a lot of gadgets. A lot of these ghost hunting gadgets have to be looked into more because they're mostly repurposed. A lot of these, like the Mel meter, it's an EMF meter. Same thing. K2, the ELF meters, and all. I have a drawer full of EMF meters. A drawer full of them. I have all of these. The tri-fields. I have the Mel meter. I have Dr. Gauze. I have this Lutron one. I have the gray version of Dr. Gauze. I have all of these, and besides the tri-field meters, the rest of these things do the same freaking thing. And most people, the majority of ghost hunting teams that use these are using them incorrectly, like completely wrong. So, I mean, we can get into that later. I know we have like 15 or so minutes, so that might be for a discussion for another show. But really, single axis meters, learn how to use them. Learn the difference, because this and this, completely different readings. My friend Dave Schumacher, who does the 3 Tortured Souls podcast with me, has been doing work on this, like real good statistical data work on this, and has measured all 3 axes and can show you graphs of the wide range of different readings depending on which axis the meter is reading. And it's mind-blowing when you read it. You're like, oh my God, if I'm standing with this meter like this and I don't get anything, but if I turned it 90 degrees and went this way, you would get a completely spiked reading in the same spot, same exact spot. So there's a lot to learn when dealing with these things. And that's just EMF meters, which nobody has since been able to tell me why they use EMF meters. I mean, that's the most basic question. Nobody can answer that.
I answered that on your show.
All right. So why did they start? Well, okay, we can get into that later.
Again, that's a whole other show. I think we're going to have another discussion.
Yes. That was good, though.
All right, James says that if you could investigate any case in history, are there any that really appeal to you?
Wow. Let's see. Any case in history. I would love to look into the Brown Lady of Raymond Hall. I would like to look into that. The Tulip Staircase ghost, because I have ideas about both of them. There's been a lot of research done, at least on the Brown Lady case, that I think is significant, and I've used that in my lectures and recreated that that experience many times during lectures. The Tulip Staircase ghost, I think I can recreate that too. I'm pretty sure I can because I have done it in different locations, but I would like to be there and actually do on site, because sometimes it's important to get there on site. You can do a lot of research. I can do a lot of research right here in my little cockpit here. I can do a lot. I can investigate things on the other side of the world from here, usually, but there is no what's the word? Substitute for actually going to the location and seeing, because going there is when you can notice little details, little small minute details that you wouldn't normally see in like pictures or YouTube videos that people don't describe because they don't notice them. I might notice something that other people won't notice because I'm looking for something different. You know, it's a fresh pair of eyes, so to speak. So, but those two places would probably be what I really, really would like to look at. Yeah, I think I'll go with them for now until something better comes along.
We have another great question. Ask Kenny about the Periscope. Explain what the Periscope is, just in case some people may not know what that is.
The Periscope is a device made by a guy in Texas. I'm not going to mention the company name because he hates me. And he's a dick. So, the Periscope is a version of a device that picks up static electricity, and basically it's like any other static component. You have several devices on the ghost hunting market that pick up static electricity, and they all use the same exact components. I mean, the same shit. And honestly, I think it adds up to like less than $5 what these components make up. And it's just the fancy case that you're getting it in that's different from device to device. These two are cases, but I have, where is he? There he is. So my ghosts here that I have, and let's see, bring it in close, CNI. But these were made by a friend, Jonathan Vanover, for me, because these are exactly the same device. And I'm trying to find the sensor here. Dun, dun, dun. I think it's on the other side. Oh, wait, there it is. So inside there's a little circuit board. And then you see the chip that's right there. So that's a chip that controls the lights. But then there is a tiny little, and I don't know if you're going to get a clear view of this. Where? I don't see it. I'll have to look. I think it might be on the other side. There's a little transistor that has a a silicone wafer inside of it, and when static electricity hits it, it changes the state of the silicon so that it can pass a signal through an electrical pulse through it, and therefore it makes the lights up. So if you you take a balloon, you rub it on your hair, and you bring it close, this thing is going to light up. And it's exactly the same with the Periscope and then other devices like this. Unfortunately, they are sold for a lot of money. Like, I think the Periscope is like $130. Where, I mean, this whole thing, I think John charged me like $20 for, and he 3D printed the ghost and then put all the components inside. And it's based on a design that was patented in, I think, 1985 or 87. I don't have the figures right in front of me, but it was originally patented by somebody else, William Betty patented the idea. So all these other devices are based on William's work. And unfortunately, the guy that makes the Periscope thinks that he owns it or something, that his design, and he doesn't like anybody else having it. So when I did a video on it, I actually posted pictures saying that I was going to take this apart, because that's what I do. I take shit apart and look inside. Like, I have, let's see, I have shit all over the place. But I have another one of his devices that I started taking apart so I could see inside of it. I took the battery compartments off so I could see the components. But that's what I do. I take things apart so I understand how they work and what they do and what they don't do, which is really important. And then I do videos where I show people, like, this is what's inside of it. This is what it actually does. When I posted pictures, this person went ballistic on me, sending me angry, very disturbing, threatening texts. Like horrible stuff. He went out and purchased the domain name IamKennyBiddle.com and then forwarded it to his blog page that just trashes the shit out of me. So I'm sure everyone's going to go see what they said about me. But I mean, he was very pissed off. But I wrote an entire article about it and just explained this is exactly what it is. I talked to people that are electronics experts and said, what's this doing? And it's not doing anything. I mean, it just picks up static. There's no evidence that it picks up ghosts or detects ghosts or ghosts give off static electricity. There's nothing to say that. And that's one of the things with science. You have to test and test and test and test and verify. One of the things on this guy's website about these devices is that he's had ghost hunting teams all over the world or the country test these things. And he lists a whole thing, like a whole list of ghost hunting teams that allegedly did this. And I went to each one of them. None of them, not one, have any kind of data on testing this equipment. Not one. So the moral of the story is, if someone has this, and I think you guys touched on it with like the Kling brothers, if someone's marketing equipment specifically to ghost hunters, do your research, check into it. If they make claims that it's been tested, ask for the tests, ask for the data. Where's it published? I want to look at it. What controls were in place? When you tried it at a haunted location, did you also try it at a control non-haunted location to see what results you would get? Like all these questions. There's tons more questions you can ask, but verify it, because some of this shit costs a lot of money. If you're paying $130 for something that, like, it took $5 to buy the components and maybe like a half hour or so to put together, that's not worth $130, or more. There's plenty of shit that you can get into. I don't. How much time? We got time. I think I have. I'm going to show you something. So, all the trigger objects that you see out there, and like REM pods. So REM pods is the bases, and then you see like trigger objects like this dog that I have. This is a trigger object. You can hear him. So you can't see it, but his nose lights up when I do this. But all these things that are trigger objects where you get near them and they go off all have the same component. This is a Junior Thurman circuit. You can buy it from a website called Mad Labs for I think last time I bought one of these, because I have several, I think it was under $10, and it took me less than an hour to put together. So when I attach a battery to this, well, not this one because I cut some of the wires, but I have another one that's in a box. I bought like a wooden box from a craft store, and I put the LEDs in the top, and I put a battery in it, and it does the same exact thing. So it's really simple. It's really cheap. It's based on a Thurman device, which if you look it up, that's something to look up later. A Thurman, which is a non-contact musical instrument. Really cool. Really, really cool. But this is a simple version. And again, this was less than $10. And some of this stuff is being sold for like $200, $300, $400. And it's ridiculous. I get the market and people are trying to make money. I get that. But consumer buyer beware. That's what I'm getting at. Like, don't spend your money until you do your research, because you'll find out you might buy like 6 or 7 different products that all have the same part. It's all the same thing, and you're wasting a lot of money. So,
wow. We've got so many great questions coming in. This is a bit of a broad question, but I know you'll be amazing at it anyway, clearly. Why do you do what you do?
Why do you do what you do? Okay, anonymous Facebook user. Why do I do what you do? I call it the Scooby Doo Effect. I'm a big fan of Scooby Doo. Got the whole gang here. I like solving mysteries. That's what I do. All the articles I've written for Skeptical Inquirer magazine, all the stuff that I've done on my blog, they are all to solve a mystery. I love figuring things out. That's what I've done all my life. With work, with play, I like to understand what's going on. She left. The host of the show left. Now it's mine. I have this show all to myself. Oh, there she is. Damn. Basically, that's why I do it. I love to investigate mysteries and solve them, because that's the point. A mystery is meant to be solved. A mystery is meant to be enjoyed because it's a mystery, but it's meant to be solved. And that's our nature. As humans, we want to figure things out. We want to understand. At least I think, we do. I do. And that's how I approach it. If somebody's making a claim, I want to know everything I can about that. And it actually evolves, because some of the claims, like earlier when you were talking to Shannon about the Conjuring house, we investigated a lot. I started investigating the history of that place, and Shannon was very helpful. There was a Jamie Rubio that was also really instrumental in my research with that. And then, of course, Norma, who was the previous owner of the house. And then Ken Spotswood, that was he just passed away. But there was a lot to do with it. I mean, we got to learn about the characters involved. And when I say characters, the historical figures that we were reading about, researching about, we got to understand their lives, how they died, how they lived, how they figured in or didn't figure in to this mystery, which the second part was more important, because most of them did not figure into that house. And it's just, I guess, uncovering those clues is fascinating to me. That's where I get my rush. Not proving people wrong, not proving people right. It's finding the clues, following them to the end, and getting a result. That's what really drives me. So that's why I do what I do. Anonymous person.
I know it's the wonderful system that we're using sometimes. Well, people have got to give permission for the system to use their names or show their names. So sometimes we'll do that step beforehand. So it looks like a bunch of people that want to ask questions but don't want to be known. It's okay.
It's okay. I don't mind that, because I get it, and I'm kind of just joking. I'm just having fun with it. I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, you're making fun of me. I'm not. I get it. Because sometimes you just don't want to ask without any repercussions, just in case, the question might be weird or something like that. So I get it. And I don't mind. I really don't mind that. I mean, you can send me messages privately. I'm on Facebook. So if you have a question after the show, feel free. You can reach out to me. And I might not get to you right away, either because I'm busy or I'm looking up your question. But feel free to reach out.
Awesome. I think we've kind of come towards almost the end of the hour. I think it's there's not any other questions I can see coming up at the moment. So I just want to take this opportunity to say a big heartfelt thank you for joining PIVC 2020 and this initiative and sharing your knowledge. I know that so many people said there's some great talk, great answers. It was obviously, a great answer. I'm not surprised. People saying a really great talk as well.
Good. Hi, Nigel.
So it's like, it's obviously people will come away with a lot more than for today's session as well. So thank you so much, lovely man. I do appreciate you giving your time. And as I said, I know everyone who's spoken today has donated their time and their energy to this. And obviously not getting any financial compensation in any way, sure, of it, but yet at the same time are quite happy to provide their knowledge for, I guess you could say, a good cause in a bad situation. So, wonderful. Ursula says, thank you very much for organising this. Really enjoyed it. I'm so glad. Thank you very much, lovely lady.
This was fun. It was fun. I mean, I'm glad you did this. I'm glad you asked me. And I'm totally going to go over time because I know I'm the last speaker. So I'm going to take all the time I want.
That's it. And guys, if you want to go check out Kenny's Facebook page, I am Kenny Biddle. Really good information there. As I said, it's nice for myself to have someone who is very skeptically minded, logical, but also about education, and that combination is very, very rare for someone who's also quite active within the paranormal community. I was going to say field, but I know you don't like that.
Community field. Community is what I usually use because the field of study is like it's hard to say it because is everyone studying? Is everyone actually studying, or you just like watch a TV show and then go out and do what the TV show did? That's not studying. That's thrill seeking to me. And can I real quick? So we touched on investigation and how I put it in quotes sometimes. And the reason I do that is because I don't see every investigation as an actual investigation, because for me, you need a claim to investigate. You need something to investigate, a mystery to solve. And if you don't have a mystery, if you're just going into a place and waiting for something to happen, that's not an investigation. That's a stakeout. That's exactly what you see in the movies, where the FBI is in the apartment across the street watching the Italian restaurant because they know it's a front for a mob organization. That's what you're doing. You're waiting for something to happen. You're not actively investigating. If you're doing even EVP sessions, that's still a stakeout. You're asking questions, waiting for something to happen. You're not investigating the cause. You're not finding, or trying to find out where it came from, or how it happened, or how it got onto your recorder. That's not investigating. Investigating is when you go in, somebody says this happened, and you get all the details, and you go into that location. Just like if there's a bank robbery, and the police come in, the detectives come in, and they're looking for clues, the fingerprints, any hair samples, DNA, videotape, security cameras, eyewitness testimony, all of that. They're looking for clues. They're investigating the crime, investigating the event. So that's why I make a distinction between investigating and stakeouts, that I don't see all investigations as investigating. I think that's just it's a buzzword like energy that's used to explain something. So that I just wanted to clarify that, because I know we mentioned that we'd get back to that later. So there you go.
That's true. People do use the term field of study so openly, like as if the paranormal field, and it's funny, ever since talking with you like a bit more face to face as we have only of recent. And you said, I don't like that term. And I thought, why is that? And I thought, actually, no, it might have a point here. And so I've now been using the term community, paranormal community, as opposed to paranormal field. So that is, again, already it's made me rethink the term that I use. As like when people say, I'm going to do an EVP session. Again, the terminology is not correct, because electronic voice phenomena means you positively recorded something that was not heard at the time.
Right.
so technically we shouldn't even be using session. It's audio recording session. So I often use that as a different term. So
proper terminology is not a skill. It's not what is it? It's not the common thing with paranormal community. The proper terminology is often misused. Energy investigation, and stuff like EVP session. When you look at it, that's a great example, because it's like you're already expecting that you're going to get these results that you're expecting to get. And as you said, it's an audio recording. It's a sound recording session. That's what you're doing. You're recording at the moment. Do you have something? I don't know. And there's a lot of problems just with that whole thing right there too, when it comes to controls and making sure you're not getting like bodily noises, stomach growling, and friction from anyone holding it, vibrations, contact vibrations from where you're placing your recorders. I mean, how many people put their microphones in suspension or shock mounts? Like, I think I can put that up. Yeah. So let me see. There. I have my microphone in a shock mount, so that when I tap my desk, you're not hearing it on the microphone. And that makes a big difference. So if you're putting a recorder down on a table or the floor or a bookshelf or anywhere, you're susceptible to vibrations that can cause weird noises. So this is something to think about too. And a question that I often ask, which causes like, like,
I encourage people to grab your standard kitchen sponge and put your recorder on that. So you may not, it's 50 cents or something for that, as opposed to something a little bit more intense. It works the same way. It sponges it. And
I missed my mouth. Sorry.
And also the term evidence review. I also like to change that to footage review. Evidence means it's a positive. You've actually found something before you reviewed it. So I'm really, really fussy. I was going to use another word, but it's the terminology that we've just gotten so used to using, that we need to kind of look at and go, well, is it really an evidence review, or is it actually a footage review?
Right.
It's the positive connotation to it.
Your evidence comes after the data. You collect data when you go out to a site, whether you're using data loggers, which it's in the name, data loggers, or using just separate recorders or cameras or whatever. At the time, you're collecting data. And what determines if that's evidence is whether or not it supports a certain claim, a certain hypothesis. And hypothesis and theory, that's another discussion that we can have later. But oh my God, that gets into it. But yeah, I mean, you can't go when people say, I can't wait to go to this location and find all this evidence. You're already in the mindset that you're going to get shit, and you're not even in there. So you don't know what you're collecting. And I mean, I think it's just, it's the public's, the general public is watching TV, and they see like crime scene shows, they see the TV shows with the ghost hunters, and they mix and match this terminology without understanding fully what these terms mean. And that's how we get all this more or less, it's slang. It's slang terminology, because theory is a word that's thrown around a lot, and it's makes me cringe when I hear it, because it's like, you don't know what that means. You really don't know what that means. And it's a slang term. I get it. A slang term, a slang use of theory is everyday knowledge. Like, okay, we have a theory about this. We have a theory, and people do it all the time. But when it comes to talking about science and scientific method, when you start using the word theory, most people in the paranormal community are using it incorrectly. And they're skipping a lot of steps. And giving it a higher title, a more important title than it deserves. So there's a lot to do with that.
Absolutely, and it's what the terminology, if we're looking at it from a paranormal perspective, should be speculation or conjecture. Those are the two other words we should be using instead of theory. You know, it's
right.
like it's slang, and being somebody who takes a very strong skeptical approach without being, as you say, a dick. You know, you're at least open to the fact that the reasons why people who call themselves investigators use that term. It's a slang term for everyday life. So that's also quite, I could say, a warming thing to think about or to hear, because often you'll find people who take a very strong skeptical view will just go, oh, you know, you don't know what it's about. You should be using this, and just completely discarding the reasons why people use it. You know, it's just, oh, we're not doing it because, you know, we want to be horrible. You know, we're using this term because it's a common term.
Right.
In other words, don't hate on us, but again, shed light on the reasons why, and then the information on, and whoever's going to want to listen to it will listen to it.
Yeah, and that's good. And I think you started touching on a point about criticism, you know, about taking criticism with that stuff, like titles and names, terminology stuff. If somebody comes along and corrects you on the use of terminology, you have to understand it's criticism. Don't take it personally. You know, it's not like I really harp on people using theory when they start the science talk part of their lectures and stuff, and it really pisses me off. But at the same time, it's like, all right, they're using it as a slang term. They don't realize that it means much more than they're using it for. So I offer criticism, and criticism is really, really hard to take from anyone. So don't take it personally. Just that if I can leave a parting thought, learn to take criticism. You know, that's it. Learn to take it, because it's hard. Most people take it personally and get defensive, but you can't. I take criticism every day. Every article I submit, I get criticism for. Not from the general public that reads it later. I have to go through editors first. I go through 2 editors before it's even published, and like actually there's a third guy that looks at it too. So I have to get criticism from them and questions that I might not be able to answer. And it makes me realize, okay, I need to do better on this. So learn to take criticism. Don't take it personally. And there you go. And yes, Shannon, who is watching, I got more time because I was last. That's my privilege. So there.
Oh, thank you so much, Kenny, for joining us and having such a great ending to this fantastically full-on day. I'm so glad all these are recorded for people to be able to watch whenever they can get to it, and appreciate everybody watching any of the replays as well. Post your comments. I'll be monitoring them over the next couple of days as well. And of course, you know, encourage all the speakers to be able to also comment back as well whenever you get that chance to. Thank you so much, Kenny. It's so... You're one of the very few people I could just
we can just talk forever.
So bad. So yeah, when this situation does improve, I will be getting myself to the States again, and we will have to cross paths.
Yes, you come to Philly, I'll take you around. We'll get some cheesesteaks. We'll get some soft pretzels. We'll hit the Rocky statue at the art museum. We'll do all this stuff. We'll make you'll be talking like me in no time.
Oh yeah, I want that. I've already got 2 accents. I'd love to add one.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for having me be part of this. And I appreciate it. And anytime you need help, you know, all you have to do is tap my name and send me a message.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So everybody, it's the end of the day of PIVC. I'm just seeing how terrible I look at the moment. You can tell it's just been like a very long day. Thank you to everybody who has joined in, contributed questions, watched. I know there were people watching until like 3 or 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning for some people in other parts of the world. I've been very, very passionate about this, which is lovely. Again, if you can contribute what you can to any of the charities that are dealing with COVID-19, please, please, please do. I'm just very appreciative of everybody sticking around and joining in. Again, watch the replays. I'll be watching the replays because I will see them differently to actually being a part of it. But again, thank you to everybody. And this was in honour of those who have passed away from COVID-19. those working on the front line, and those dealing with any sense of loss and or grief from this particular situation. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to sign out. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Again, Quarantinacon is happening tomorrow online. That's it. Quarantinacon's happening tomorrow. So go and check them out. Haunt Jaunts are running it, along with Haunted Magazine. So go and check them out. They've got a whole Paracon day full of stuff as well. So if you haven't been completely overwhelmed with information today with these fantastic minds, make sure that your brain gets another filling in for tomorrow as well. But do take care, everybody. And thank you so much for your support.